I have had the privilege to, since an early age, start enjoying the outdoors, and I guess that eventually transformed into a necessity to go outdoors. Maybe not as frequent as I would like to, but still I have had the privilege and the help of friends and family members to go outdoors. Yeah, I would say I would recommend for people to experience outdoors at least once in their life. I guess the mattresses were a little hard.
Yeah.
I wake up with the arms a little sleepy.
That was kind of me this morning. I was like, eh.
A little bit.
That's all you need?
Especially right now that waking up at 6 in the morning.
I probably don't need that much, but I had 2 of these little cups anyway. All right, let's go take a look. This morning we have to drive into Yosemite, and there's no quick way to get to our trailhead, but you have to drive down to the valley and then back up Glacier Point Road. Pretty excited about today. I'm sure my face doesn't portray that, but it's going to be a good day, I think. Got to pack up and get moving.
Clean.
Oh no.
Can you start now?
Yeah.
You're not gonna crush it, but
That'll be okay. Yeah. Not too worried about it. All right, here we go.
My name is Jaron Latona. I'm a historian, conservationist, and aspiring filmmaker. I grew up in Northern California, in a town not too far from Sacramento. I was fortunate as a child to have parents who thought it was important to take us outside, to take us on trips, to take us into the mountains, to the beach, to lakes and rivers. Often we were told to go play outside until it was time for dinner. Now that I'm an adult, I try to get outside and into the woods or the mountains or the ocean as much as I can. For me, going out to these places is kind of like going home. I'm not a huge fan of cities. I think that as a society, we've created civilization and cities and things like that out of necessity so that we can survive, so that we can help each other out. But they still feel very artificial to me. I have to get away every once in a while to something that seems simpler and more pure.
I am Luis Ramon Campos-Garcia, Lurac. I am a visual artist, graphic designer, educator, outdoor enthusiast. I am originally from Mexico City. I was born and raised in Mexico City. Later in my 20s, when I was around 26, 27 years old, I moved into the United States. My history with the outdoors was, I guess it started when I was a kid. As a children, I remember going outdoors with my family, with my father, mother, with my uncles, aunts, cousins. They were the ones that first introduced myself, my brother, to the outdoors. With my cousins, with my brother and myself, we were in the Boy Scouts for a couple of years. So with them, we spent a lot of time going out in different hiking trips, camping trips, in Mexico City, in the surrounding areas, and even I remember a really nice camping trip to the beach in Guerrero, Mexico. That was the first time as a child, I don't remember well, 8 to 10-year-old kid going outside of Mexico City without my parents, just with a bunch of other kids and my cousins.
As someone who's passionate about the outdoors and also history, I feel like walking, the act of walking itself, connects me to generations of people who've come before me. For the most part, in human history, people have moved around on their own 2 feet. Cars are obviously a new invention, but there's something universal about the act of walking.
Yeah, going outdoors with my own 2 legs is very important for me. In one way, I recognize my privilege, and as I am able to have use of my 2 legs, there is many people that, for different reasons, for health reasons, for an accident, or other reasons, they cannot use their own legs. But also there are political, economical, cultural, and many other barriers that are imposed that a lot of times as a person or from different cultures, different ethnic backgrounds, facing those difficulties, and they don't really go outside, they don't spend time outdoors.
We just made it to the first trail junction. 4.5 miles to go. There you go, 1.7 miles we've been. So actually that was a pretty quick 2 miles. Yeah.
Walking through Lost Bear Meadow, one of the first things that we noticed was the sheer number of wildflowers everywhere. I mean, you pretty much couldn't take a step off the trail without being engulfed in wildflowers. There were lupines, Indian paintbrush, and lots of other flowers that I don't know the names of.
It was an area that I was expecting to maybe see a bear somewhere around there, because that was a perfect environment for bears. It was a meadow, a lot of flowers, some berries growing around that. So that was an area that I was expecting a bear to be walking around, trying to find some food.
Going to the wilderness for me is an important aspect of my life. I think that the wilderness shows us in many ways who we really are, because it strips us of the masks that we wear, of the cultural trappings that we put on.
Yeah. I don't know if it's in this little valley right over here or if it's over that hill. It could be over that hill, but we're pretty close to it. The next junction should be basically right at the creek, like really close to the creek. So, yeah.
Outdoors, nature is something really special for me. I feel like outdoors, nature, the woods, the wilderness is the place where I feel more connected to life. That's the place where I like to go to disconnect, but at the same time to connect. Disconnect from the current life that I'm having, like living in a city, like the job, the mass media, all the pollution, either from noise pollution, air pollution, and go over there and connect with nature and connect with the outdoors, connect with the world, and connect with the planet, connect with myself.
This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is paintbrush.
As we made our way through the meadow, we came to a junction and decided to stop and have some lunch. Luis and I decided to try to make sandwiches along the way. So we bought some bread, tomatoes, cheese, and avocado.
Technically, but you can just open like the bread and you can just put it on there. And then you can spread it either with a foil or with a knife or whatever.
But tasty.
Is it good?
Yep. I get it all in my hands. All the tomato.
It was a little messy, but it was still pretty good.
I didn't realize I was hungry until I took that bite. I think that should just be our call.
Going into the wilderness is very freeing for me, but is also has to be understood as a place you need to take seriously, a place you need to respect. It welcomes you with open arms, but it's also a wild place, and if you're not careful, the wilderness can be cruel. It's not going to baby you. It's not going to take you by the hand. If you make a mistake, it's going to let you know.
I will say that my definition of wilderness will be like going into areas where there is not much traces of human being in those areas. Like there is a lot of other animals. We are also animals too, human animal, but other animals. Nature have been preserved in those areas that there is not much human traces left in those areas. A little break.
Yeah.
We just find a seat here and taking a little break while we go up. I started carrying like 50, 60 pounds.
Mine?
Yeah.
I don't know. I should have waited.
Yeah,
heavy.
I weighted mine. It was like 40 pounds.
Really?
Well, it's kind of tricky, kind of difficult to say wild because wild. I mean, those are areas where humans, we usually don't spend a lot of time, but those areas, why do we consider those wild? I would say like wild is more like sometimes right here in the city. It's gonna be a little more difficult. Yeah. You go to a bar, you see people drinking, they become really wild, acting crazy. And you go outdoors and it's more quiet. There are other animals living in their homes, like you have bears, you have mountain lions, wolves living in their environments, but I cannot say like that, the same kind of wildness like as humans when we act crazy as the wildness of the animals that they live in there, they hunt, and what we call wild in the animals because they hunt to survive. It's not the same wild as we say in humans. So in a way, I would say the wilderness for me will be like the areas where there are no much human traces in there, that there is not much human presence.
Can you believe this?
What?
This is paved. That's pavement.
Yes. Areas that are still as call it like pristine environments, that there are no altered that much because of human interaction. I feel like a hammock right now will be great.
Yeah. We still have a long ways to go. And it's pretty hot. These clouds look really cool though.
About 3 miles in, the terrain starts to get really steep.
I'll tell you one thing. I am not digging these bushes here, which have thorns and stuff on them. So that's not fun. And I'm pretty sure Monica is not gonna like that either. Luis has found some Jeffrey pine sap that we might be able to use as a fire starter later. So we're gonna check that out.
One of the things about backpacking in the wilderness is that you have to be very careful to drink enough water and to get enough electrolytes. Luis and I were both carrying heavy backpacks. In retrospect, we brought way too much food, and that combined with all of our camera equipment really weighed us down. We made our way up the mountain, stopping to rest where we could, but it was sunny and warm, and there wasn't much shade in some parts.
It's a nice view. From here, you can take
I also wasn't being very careful about eating snacks along the way, and I didn't realize how much I was actually sweating until we were looking out and the salt from my forehead started falling into my eyes, stinging my eyes. Unfortunately, the further up the hill we went, the more I started to feel uneasy and ill. Looking back, I can see that what was happening was a combination of low blood sugar from not eating enough, a little bit of heat exhaustion, and also an electrolyte imbalance. You can get a condition called hyponatremia, where you just don't have enough salt and electrolytes in your body. And I was definitely experiencing those symptoms, hyponatremia. I felt dizzy and like I wanted to vomit, electrolyte imbalance. We stopped to rest for a bit in some shade, hyponatremia, and I took some electrolyte tablets. But ultimately we had to move on if we were going to get to camp before dark. Further up the trail, I'd almost given up hope of making it to the top. Hyponatremia. I was starting to feel really sick. Hyponatremia. I looked around for a place to pitch the tent, but there wasn't a flat spot nearby. I was close to giving up. It was no use. I had to keep going up the trail. My only salvation lay in reaching the top and getting to the lake. I was close to giving up. Close to the top, I stopped in some shade and let Luis continue on. I also wanted him to be able to experience the lake alone so that he could take in his first impressions. It was cool in the shade and there was a nice breeze. I also saw this really cool snowflower.
I will say that at the end of the hike or outdoors, of course, is the physical things that you feel tired at the end. I feel tired at the end of the hiking, but at the same time, I feel fulfilled.
Here we go. Continue on up.
That is something similar to the way I feel too when I go outdoors and complete a hike. When I go outdoors, I don't really have an expectation that I have to complete this because this or that other reason. It's more like going outdoors and just having this idea of no mind. I feel alive. I feel connected with the planet. I feel connected with everything around me. I feel, in a certain way, this is a little pretentious to say, but you feel untouchable.
Casi llegamos.
In that moment, you feel like nothing else matters. You are just yourself, connecting with what is happening around you. So hiking, being outdoors, is another way to connect yourself, connect your energy with the energy of the universe.
Finally, Luis made it to the lake. And before long, I was there too.
Woo! Oh my God. We made it. I'm gonna go in the water.
Yep.
It's getting dark, so we're looking for a campsite, and passed a whole bunch of pretty nice ones. A lot of people had taken them. There was a couple other ones. We almost stopped at one, like back beyond those rocks, and I said, well, let me go one more over, because I could have sworn I saw something on a satellite that looked really cool. And it's nice and big. It's got a good campfire pit, plenty of places for the tent, but also it has this. That's what I want to wake up to. That's awesome. And in the lake back there, I'm definitely gonna go swimming, whether it's freezing or not. The creek didn't seem to be that bad, so I'm hoping that it's not that cold. So Luis should be coming. Oh, there he is. I see him. I think you'll like it.
Nice. Yeah, the other is more or less similar, like this.
That's why I think you'll like it.
Oh, yep. Yep, good. Yeah, the fire here.
Yep.
Tent.
Oh man, check this out. Private beach. Look at this thing. This is awesome. Just come down here. Take a swim. Why not?
Some fishes in the water.
Yeah.
Nice. Private beach. It's right here. Off right now. And from here is the filter.
Yep. Oh my God, this fire would not start. Let's see, what we used cattail, we used pine needles, I used a striker, I used a lighter. I ended up finally starting it by using a candle, but it just would not go because everything's sort of oily and I don't know, it just didn't want to get going. So we finally have fire.
Even though we made a fire and I'd cooked some dinner, I had no appetite and I didn't eat anything. This was problematic because it meant we had extra trash, which we had to place in our bearer canisters. I felt so sick that I just went to bed, hoping that in the morning the effects of my illness might wear off.
So this is my creepy face, I guess. So we got to camp and I was actually having a lot of trouble getting up the hill to get to here, and not feeling good at all. In fact, I still don't feel good. So I made dinner, but I didn't eat any, and unfortunately Louise didn't. I made a lot of food and I didn't eat any of it. So Louise, can't be blamed for not being able to finish it all. So he did his best. It was a valiant effort, but kind of wanted to throw up at one point. Not a good fun time. So I'm just filming this to show you that, or to tell you, I guess, that I'm not filming anything else tonight. So yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully I feel better tomorrow.
That was in the morning, around 8, 9 in the morning. After getting up, just taking a little hike away from the campsite, there was a big rock where at least 5 marmots were just sitting in there chilling, taking the sun. And I remember in the rocks around them there were several squirrels also just sitting on the or laying down on the rocks, taking the sun, I guess.
One of my most important morning rituals is some camp coffee. I got these little pour-over pouches because I was trying to do something a little bit different than the usual dehydrated coffee crystals. I was really impressed with this coffee. It was really good.
There are worse places to drink coffee.
Spending time in the woods with a friend, it's amazing how much you start to click after a while.
When you spend time together with other people in the outdoors, you start to trust that other person, you start to interact with that other person in a more elementary level.
You don't have to think about what needs to be done, you just do it. You support each other and you take care of each other.
You rely on that other person because you know that he's gonna get your back if something happens, at the same way as you, that other person relies on you, that you are gonna have their backs when something happens.
Because I haven't been feeling too well, I made myself some miso soup for breakfast. I'm always gonna bring miso soup backpacking from here on out because this is really good for breakfast.
Often you even create your own sort of language, your own terms for things, even your own euphemism.
So it is time to take care of some business, or as Luis and I have dubbed it, time to go see some marmots. Okay, the reason for that joke is because the first time he went to do this, he saw some marmots, and we were like, man, we should just make that the thing we say. Now, I'm not only following no trace principles and being more than 200 feet away from the campsite and the water and everything else, but I'm also following Monica's 5-point poop scale, which means that I'm trying to find a place that's scenic. The rest will sort of take care of itself, but a scenic poop is a good poop. So this is my scenic view. And no, you don't get to watch.
Since I still wasn't feeling 100% better, I decided to lay down in some shade and watch the clouds as they drifted past the lake. Luis decided to go explore.
Yeah, this exploring by myself was really something that part of this process of connecting with myself, connecting with the nature, with the planet, with the universe. Just to spend my solo time exploring. Being over there, walking to certain places that you see from far away. In a moment you feel like, okay, that place looks nice, what is over in that area? So you start walking over there, trying to see what you can find, what things that are gonna be a little different from the area where you are camping or where you were passing on your way there, to that campsite. So exploring on myself is really nice, a little challenging. I guess in part because of the fear that is part of us as people, that we were born and raised in cities, surrounded by people, and all surrounded by animals like bears, mountain lions, and other animals that we encounter outside of the cities, towns. So walking in those areas with a little bit of fear, like trying to not encounter one of those animals and provoke them because we are in their home.
Eventually, I decided to go take a swim. I thought it would make me feel better. Turns out I was right.
About 2/3 of the way there. Okay. Oh my god. Oh, that's cold. Oh my god, it feels good though. Whew. Muddy, but good. Oh, this feels so good. Oh man, this is fantastic. Just gotta stay in the sunlight. Whew. Okay, it's official. I swam in the lake.
But at the same time, sometimes it's really necessary to have your solo time and enjoy your time by yourself, really connecting with everything, thinking a little bit on whatever you want to think, but mainly healing yourself. Those solo times are really made for healing, getting you more energy, filling your batteries for when it's time to go back home and the everyday activities to sustain this way of life that a lot of times I feel is not really sustainable.
While Luis played the world's largest game of The Floor is Lava, I'm going to go for a little bit of a day hike. So, yeah. So here we go. So I honestly don't remember when we got to our camp being this close to the lake, so I'm gonna cut back over here, I guess. I don't remember there being so many boulders either. So that's probably not a good sign. Sort of making my way back to the ski hut around the lake here. Oh, this has been a unique trip. I heard someone say once that who you are in civilization is who you are out in the wilderness. And I'm not entirely sure that I agree with that sentiment because there's so much pressure to be a certain way, to act a certain way, to work, to save money, to spend money, to buy things. It's not that some of those things aren't important, they are important, but they're not necessarily who we are as people. I think we equate our stuff with who we are, or we equate our fashion with who we are, or we equate our musical taste with who we are. And you come out here to the wilderness and you realize that none of that means anything. You are not your stuff, but you are your experiences. The water was beautiful and inviting, and the sun shimmered off the surface. It was a beautiful sight, Walking through this little wooded area, I spotted these ferns. I could stare at trees and rocks and cliffs forever. Sometimes when I stop and sit and rest, I think about my connection to these things. We're all made up of all the same stuff in different amounts, but someday when I die, my body will break down and it'll become part of the earth, and it will become part of the nutrients that enrich the trees and plants, I hope. Eventually, it was time to head back so that we could make a fire and cook some dinner.
I feel like I am more or less the same in the city, living the everyday life as in the wilderness. Even though I will say, like, sometimes in the city, I kind of have this little mask, this facade of like, there's a certain way that you should act or look like. Especially when traveling in public transportation in a big city, like you encounter a lot of violence. Hopefully it's more easy to start off than yesterday.
Yeah. Yesterday was like a pain in the butt.
Let's see. Where is the magic bag?
Magic bag? I like the sound of that. So now what is this that you're sprinkling on there?
Really dry wood. This is all really dry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like wherever I am, this thing here. Oh dang. It actually kind of worked this time, sort of. Oh geez. I mean, I love seeing that theory work because, like, that's what I was trying to do yesterday. But it just, I noticed that it seemed kind of wet. So I think if it sits out in the sun, it's good.
Most of the time, I try to be is more like of the same person. Even though I will say in the wilderness, I feel more confident, more peace of mind, more peace of myself. In the wilderness, a lot of times I feel like, okay, this is safety. I'm not gonna have somebody trying to rob me right here because I'm just sitting and chilling next to a tree, next to a rock. Like sometimes those are some of the worries that I have in the city.
There we go. Look at that.
I cannot be more precautions around other humans that sometimes I don't feel when I go outdoors. I feel like over there I feel more secure, more safe. Even that many people told me that they are afraid that there are these wild animals that are gonna harm me. I feel like more threatened and more in danger being in a city than being outside outdoors. Me?
Yeah.
Maybe. But I am already taken, so.
Seriously though, I'm genuinely impressed at like how well that worked. I mean, it seemed like it was like maybe it was like touch and go for a minute.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to burn away all of that cattail and not have anything left, but you were able to get some embers in there, and that's all that really mattered.
Yeah, that's what helped out because it was still warm from yesterday.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because once you put it just a little bit in, it all of a sudden started smoking like right away. Yeah.
While we were tending the fire, we noticed something kind of odd.
I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's this ticking noise coming from this tree. Luis and I are like, what the heck is going on? We're really hoping that this very dead looking tree doesn't fall on our tent over there. But it seems structurally sound. But it's making a ticking noise. Who's ever heard of a tree making a ticking noise?
Where is the woodpecker?
Yeah. I've heard of woodpeckers making a ticking noise, but not a tree. Very odd.
I bought this backpacking lasagna, which was really kind of funny because when I opened it, it turned out to just be corkscrew pasta with tomato sauce and cheese. It was delicious anyway.
That ticking in the tree creeped us out so much that we moved our tent. It was over there, and we moved it over here. We don't want to wake up, well, not wake up. We don't want to never wake up because that tree fell. If that tree falls tonight, it'll wake us up for sure. And we'll be glad we moved that tent.
Finally, there was nothing to do but tend to the fire and take photographs of the night sky. I definitely enjoy going outdoors by myself. I can be an introspective person and I like to be alone with my thoughts sometimes. But I think that going out with other people enriches my experience, it enriches my skills, it enriches my understanding of people. People seem wonderful when you're sitting around a campfire or telling stories or cooking food or eating together in a way that isn't the case when you're in traffic or working with a group of people on a deadline. I think there's a paradox when you go into wild spaces with someone else, especially someone who has a very different background from you. On the one hand, I think that going outdoors strips us again of our cultural identities to a certain extent, and we become just humans. And yet, at the same time, we still carry those cultural experiences, the social conditionings that we have. We carry all these things out into the wilderness with us, and it shapes our experience. And what I mean by that is that while I think we can recognize our common humanity by experiencing wild places with others, I think that it also gives us the opportunity to appreciate those things that make us unique about each other. the different skills that we bring to the same task. I think that in society, people want you to think that our differences make us weak. But out here, I think it's our differences that actually make us stronger, and we are stronger together.
We think about the outdoors as something that you enjoy the experience of walking, being able to spend time walking from one place to another into the wilderness. But a lot of times this idea of walking, in some cultures there may be some trauma. I think this using the outdoor experience as a way to heal people is going to be a process. It's going to be more difficult for people that have already grown in a certain way to suddenly, when they are adults, to trying to take them outdoors. If all their early lives they didn't spend time outdoors and enjoying that, it's going to be difficult to train them to go outdoors and enjoy. But on the other side, I think the opportunity will be more like to work with the children. If you expose the children to these activities that are going to be something that they can enjoy, eventually when they grow up experiencing this kind of activities, they are going to enjoy it. And little by little that will help to disappear this trauma.
This is new. This wasn't here when we came through the first time, I don't think. I think there might have been an accident. Did you have to fight a squirrel? Did you have to fight a marmot?
Yes.
Probably me.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Luis, am I the smelliest?
I think so.
Dude,
See?
you got hella sun. I think I just got dirt.
Probably.
I have had the privilege to, since an early age, start enjoying the outdoors, and I guess that eventually transformed into a necessity to go outdoors. Yeah, I will say I would recommend for people to experience outdoors at least once in their life.